Okay, and here we are. Good morning, my friend. How are you? I hope this finds you well wherever you are. Fantastic Tuesday. I hope that the week is starting just like you envisioned it to be, and I hope that the rest of it continues to go just as well as you want it to go. I'm Eduardo. Finance managers, or let's say ambitious managers, hire me because they are feeling frustrated that they're not earning the kind of money that they could get. Their career feels stuck. They feel like they're in a rut. So I come in and I help them distinguish themselves and stand out from the competition, be earmarked for more and faster promotions, and make the kind of income that they can make over their lifetime. That sounds like you, my friend. Let's get into a conversation. Drop a note, and I'll be happy to chat. And I'm pretty sure that we can accelerate your career. Fantastic questions today. The weather, as I always report, is pretty dreary here. It could be better, but hey, it's Seattle, it's the Pacific Northwest, so it's gonna be rainy and it's gonna be cloudy most of the time. Some things for you to keep in mind. There's a few methods that you can get questions to me. You can either just write a comment in the invite for the session today, or I think that the best way to do it would be submit it via Slido, www.slido.com. And normally I will either give you a code that you can just type in there and that'll get you to the questionnaire for today, what the questions that I'm going to be looking at today. Or better yet, normally in my invites, I include the link to the set of questions that I'm going to be addressing today. So that's normally the best way to do it because that's the list that I read off of. You can vote on questions that you see there, or you can write your own and others can vote on them. They can vote them up, and I get to those that have priority. So, with that, welcome again, and let's go into the questions. So, the first one for today, let me go see and get into the right list. And there it is. What can you not be good at and still be promoted? Okay, let me repeat that question. What can you not be good at and still be promoted? What does this mean? Do you need to be excellent at everything? Is there anything in which you could be a little less excellent, a little not as strong as in the other skills, and that will still get you promoted? Well, I will say that getting promoted, of course, is not a matter of time. It should never be perceived like that. And you should be focusing on getting a pretty complete, rounded, well rounded set of skills so that you would become promoted. The best answer to your question is probably like this. I would rather have you be better as a leader, better as a communicator, better as an influencer, and better as somebody who can really fill a room with your presence than a super deep technical expert. And let me make sure that this is clear. I'm not saying that you don't know your stuff. I'm not saying that you don't know the nuances and the technicalities of whatever it is you do. All I'm saying is that rather than being a super deep technical expert, I would much rather have you be a great leader, somebody that will develop others, that will let them shine through their own strengths, that will let them become the leader of the future. I would rather have you be somebody who can convey and influence the direction of your organization. That could be your department, it could be a bigger team, or that could be the whole organization, depending on how far you work from the center of power, so to speak. So that would be it. I wouldn't say that there's anything in particular that you can not, be good at. You need to be good in order to get promoted, full stop. But I would rather prioritize those things that will really be useful, not only to you as you become a more senior leader, but to your company as you continue to grow and as you continue to help them develop the talent that they will need for the future. This is a good question, though. That the final thing that I will say is that you don't need everything and to be perfect at everything to be promoted. I think that's the core takeaway for me of this question. And I really think that's a good one. Thank you, my friend. Let's go to the next question. All right. What contributes to your level of happiness as you get to a more senior position? Well, tricky question, right? So, regardless of your level, your happiness should always be predicated upon the impact that you have, the experiences that you live or that you help others live. Are you helping others grow? Are you helping others have experiences that are going to be enriching? Are you yourself being enriched as a function of those experiences, or as a result of those experiences? Um, that I would argue happens at every level. Now, that said, as you grow more, as you become more senior, typically, this doesn't have to be the case, but typically you have a bigger team. You have people that work under you that depend on you for their growth. So as you grow more, you become more of a person where you have impact in the lives of others. I would say that your happiness as you grow needs to come not from your own growth, which I would say, yes, is important, but you need to also learn to derive happiness from helping others grow. At some point, it would be even ideal if you could find a way to be happy, even if they grow faster than you, people in your team, if they go faster, if they go farther than you are probably projected to get, hey, that's a great thing. So I would say that you need to find satisfaction in your role, in terms of the impact that you have, in terms of how you're helping others remember you even after they don't work with you. If you can get to this point where they think of you and say, man, am I happy that I worked with your name, that would be great. That contributes to your happiness. I know that it does for me. I worked with a large number of people over my 30 plus years of career, and of them, many got to CEOs, to regional presidents, to CFOs, so pretty large roles. Many of them got farther than I ever thought I would, or than I ever did when I was working in the corporate world. And that fills me with happiness and with satisfaction when I can look back at them and say, man, I'm proud of the role that I played in the development of that person. I'm proud and I am happy that they are happy because they realize their objectives. That would be the other thing for you to think about, is help your team, help others understand what gives them happiness, what stands in their way. Help them figure that out, how to get to something that makes them happy so that you get happiness. And I would say that the most important thing, probably as you become more senior, just I would say senior in life, not necessarily even an organization, is you have to find the right priorities in life. When you're younger, you're going to be more focused on your career, on growing and get it promoted, or on acquiring more responsibilities. As you age, as you mature, you're going to still be, caring about those things, but you start to make it more, let's say you enrich it, you complement it with other things that are in the longer run more important. So how how to find happiness? Well, find ways to make the best use of your time such that you don't have to be focused only on your job all of the time. Find time for yourself. What fills you? What gives you energy? Find time for that. That contributes to your health. Find times to be with your family. These these things. So your family particularly, they are the one group of people that will always be with you, regardless, rain or shine. They will always be with you. And so find a way to spend time with them, because by the time you punch out, and we will all punch out at some point and exit through that big door at the end of the road, the only people next to you are going to be your family. So spend time with them. Find ways to make your job a reason and a tool for you to spend more time with them, and for you to find satisfaction in their happiness. And I think that's what really contributes. And I hope that this was an answer that makes sense. It's happiness is not a function of how much you grow in a company. That's one element, because it does reflect um, a reward for your effort, but that's not it, right? That's a vehicle for a deeper level of happiness that I would say, as I mentioned before, it's beyond seniority in your career. The more you age, the more you appreciate these other things, and at the end of the day, those are the things that really matter the most. So that was a good deep question. What types of mentor should I be looking for? Also an important question. Mentors are important because they help you grow. They will help you through using some of the things that they have and you don't. Example would be political clout, institutional knowledge, technical knowledge, general maturity, how to handle yourself around difficult situations. So, mentors are people who will expand your skill set and who will equip you to better face all of the challenges that you will face on a day to day basis, and that will help you grow as a person. Like we were saying before, those people who help you find the things that give you happiness they're good mentors. Now, many people have the misconception that mentors are people that you run to in order to complain or to find, I don't know, consolation if you're going through hard times or things like this. If you want mentors only to pat your back or dry your tears, I think that's the wrong use of a mentor. That's probably the wrong motivation why you should be looking for a mentor. They do help do that, but that's something that just happens as a byproduct. You should look for mentors who challenge you, who will push you to be better, who will get you to places where you feel uncomfortable going in terms of difficulty, in terms of effort, in terms of complexity, things that you might even not believe that you can do. A good mentor is going to encourage you and is going to push you to dare yourself to go there, and then they will help you get there. And as you trip along the way, they will help you find ways to work around the obstacles to get up to dust stuff to continue going. So mentors you should be looking for are people who will give you a good attentive ear, a sympathetic ear, who will help you think about your problems, but they are not people who are supposed to make your life easier or tell you how nice and awesome you are. They are people who should be helping you identify what your weaknesses are and push you to be better. At the end of the day, those are the mentors in my life that helped me the most. People who, they might have been friendly, but they certainly were not easy on me. They always pushed me to be more. They always pushed me to find a solution to any problem that I brought them. I had one mentor to whom I came with, I had moved to a different organization, so I didn't report to him anymore. And I brought him a problem that I had with one of my stakeholders in the new organization. And I was honestly, if I'm being transparent, I was really more expecting him to say, all right, this is the recipe. These are the 4 things you need to do. And he didn't do that. He said, well, you wanted to grow, right? You were promoted. Now you're there. Now you're facing people that are more complicated, people that are more sensitive to your deliverables, people that are more sensitive to how you lead others. And another, set of things that it was uncomfortable to hear. It was not easy for me to hear that because I was more looking for an answer that would help me um, feel better, something that would make me feel warm and fuzzy, like they say. And he didn't let me. He just said, well, you got to go back there, get back in there and figure it out. You have to figure a way in which you will be able to lead others and keep them accountable, because it was a little bit of a question about how do I keep people accountable without mm, becoming enemies with anybody, and I don't want to antagonize my then boss. And obviously he didn't give me the recipe. He just said, that's your problem to solve, and these are things that you need to take into account. And he enumerated a few ideas and he helped me think through things. He asked me questions. Your mentor should be asking you questions, ideally questions that are tough, that are not easy to answer, that will make you think, like he did. And because of his challenges that day, I went back in there and I figured out a good solution that worked out really, really well in the end. But that's the point, that your mentors are people who will help you grow and who will give you some tools that you might not have. Other mentors are great because they have good good connections within the company, so they can point you in directions of stakeholders that you might be well advised to interact with. Some others know the players, so they would say, okay, this is how I would approach that person. They are not going to approach the person for you, or not necessarily. They might introduce you. They might put in a good word for you so that you get a more attentive ear. But at the end of the day, it is your job, not theirs. And all they're going to do is maybe say, okay, I got you a meeting. I got you some time with that person. And these are the things that you should not be touching upon because they're very sensitive to them. They hate them, or, they're just not interested. This is how I would advise that you approach the topic. They could even be your rehearse partners. If you want to do a rehearsal before a big meeting, they can help you with that. But the best mentors are those that will challenge you, that will not make your life easy, and that will not just give you a free ride because they're, called that, a mentor. So thank you for that question, and I think that's an important consideration. Never look for mentors that are just going to make you feel good. Those are, you know, not necessarily your mentors, and they're not acting at all in bad faith. It's you who probably chose them because you want to be validated every time you go to them. Those mentors are probably not going to help you as more as those that even get you uncomfortable with your depth of knowledge, with how you're proceeding, and that will challenge you and push you further. When you think you can go no more, they will get you farther. Okay. Is there an optimal sequence of finance roles to get me to CFO? Let me repeat the question. Is there an optimal sequence of roles for me to get to CFO? Meaning, what's the ideal career path if I wanted to, if I wanted to get to CFO? Let me repeat the question. What's the ideal sequence of roles if I want to get to CFO? Well, when I was younger in my career, I used to think that there was a prescribed sequence that you always needed to have when you wanted to become a CFO. And that predisposed me negatively against some roles. So I thought that I should be only gravitating to the more glamorous roles. Back in the day when I was growing up, it was financial analysis. So you could interact with marketing and with high management to talk about launches of new products and big investments and things that were flashy and nice and that sounded, high powered. I thought that it was about being in financial planning because then you would also be exposed to high management and you would know how much profit we were going to make and the planning for for the budget, how much revenues we needed to go for, and things that sounded like very, very exciting and, again, glamorous. And there's no specific role. I would say that there are certain things that you need to be looking for when you want to become a CFO. You need to learn how to manage a team. You need to learn how to develop people. You need to learn the technicalities of what it is you're going to do. You need to understand what things are important so that you can provide leadership to the company and you can help them allocate their capital in the best possible way so that you maximize that return, that bottom line. And notice that I'm not enumerating roles, I'm enumerating skills. So, what kind of roles will help you become a better communicator? What kind of roles will help you become a better problem solver? What kind of roles will give you technical depth so that you can at least understand what your team will bring to you to make decisions as you grow? What roles will give you the challenge to develop others and get them to where they need to be so that they can push you up as they get promoted too, as they get more mature? So it's a function not of the roles but of the skills. I would say if you were to force me, and I would really encourage, if you're in a manufacturing company, in a company that produces actual tangible products, I would always encourage people to go through cost accounting. I have this soft spot in my heart for cost accounting because people tend to not want to go there because it tends to get complicated. There's a lot of complexity to it. It's hard work. And on the flip side of that coin, It's one of the most technically enriching jobs that you can get. It's one of the most satisfying jobs that you can get because that's when you get to see, touch, hold in your hand whatever it is that your company produces. And knowing that and having that ability to tangibly feel and picture whatever it is your company produces and sells is outstanding. Plus, it gives you this broad view of what's profitable. It gives you a good, solid understanding of gross margin, because gross margin is one of the most important things that you're going to have to drive later on. And it just is very, very technically solid. You should be probably looking at something that will expose you at some points to the budgeting process. Because if you are a CFO, I mean, a very simplified way of it would be big chunk of what you do is budgeting. You help your company plan their finances, right? So how much money is going to come in? How much money are going to spend? How much money are we planning to be left with at the end of the day? So something that will give you the skills to do that. So cost accounting is great. Financial planning or financial analysis are great because they help you see that big picture of the P&L. You should be also looking at something that will give you a good, solid understanding of the balance sheet. Treasury is great, but so are accounts payable and accounts receivable. And anything that has to do with the balance sheet is fantastic. Listen, let me tell you a story. When I was growing up, and I'm an engineer, so you might know, or if you didn't, I'm an engineer, electronics engineer with a computer science major. So I started in finance and I didn't know what a T account was other than because it's shaped like a T. And I was lucky enough to start in a cost accounting organization. I learned tons. I got in there without really knowing anything. I became, fairly deep and very knowledgeable, and I could hold my own against accountants or with accountants when we were having conversations. And I understood implications pretty well. That allowed me to get to financial planning and financial analysis and things that were, like I said, pretty glamorous. At some point, I wanted to get to one of these business partnership and support roles. And instead, I was given accounts payable. And I remember that I thought, am I being punished? Who did I offend? What did I break? Who did I not say hi to that I'm being punished with this role? This is like exile. And then after that, they gave me accounts receivable. And I was kind of really dejected because I was feeling as an exilee. And guess what? Looking back, as I matured more to the question that somebody asked a little while ago about what gives you happiness, I had the happiness of learning that two things happen in these roles. I had large teams, and I managed to find extremely talented colleagues in these teams that I helped develop. And not only that, but that they educated me a lot in terms of the technicalities of the roles, accounts payable, accounts receivable, how to deal with customers, how to have the tough conversations with customers when they're not paying, how to deal with your suppliers when you need some financing. How do you negotiate that? How do you deal with procurement if you're going to talk with a supplier to get financing or things like this, right? So these are just examples from the industries that I worked in. It doesn't necessarily need to apply to yours. My point is, every single role, ugly as you might think it is, will leave you something. So don't focus on this is not glamorous. This is not in the eye of my most senior management. You should not focus on that. You should focus on what is this role going to give me? Is this going to provide one of those skills that will be critical when I become a more senior leader? People development, how you communicate, how you influence, how you develop a strategic vision, a broader vision of your business that will help you lead that organization in ways that will get it closer to its strategic intent, to the things that it ultimately wants to achieve. I think those are the roles that you should be looking for. So don't think of positions, don't think of specific jobs, think of roles. Have a conversation with your manager about the kind of things that you need to pack in your bag if you want to get to your desired destination. If your desired destination is being a CFO, then hey, investor relations would be great at some point in your career. You should probably try to lead some commercial organization finance, but never disregard the others, like I mentioned. In my case, man, was I benefited through having worked in accounts payable, accounts receivable, corporate budgets, things that I felt were ugly, that nonetheless gave me a ton of opportunity to improve processes, to improve the face of organizations that seemed dreary and drab. And at the end of it, people were knocking on my door to get into my team because it was an exciting organization. We were making things happen. We were designing processes. We were in front of general management when I was in accounts payable. Improbable as it seemed when I was assigned, because we had made such a cool reorganization of the whole process that we exported some of the things that we did. So those are things that you need to consider more than roles. It's the skills, and never look down on any role that you get. Never. Those roles will always give you something. So there's always something that you can glean and you can learn from any role. All right, let's move on to the next one. I'm in finance and I work based on project. Does one learn more in an engagement that is going well or an engagement that is going poorly? Well, that's a great question. I through my career, many times I worked based on projects, and particularly when I was a chief audit executive at a multinational company in Europe. Um, I worked actually from one engagement to the other. So that's how audit works. Regardless of the project, regardless of the engagement, and regardless if it's good or bad, I think that both things have a lot to add. If you are in a project that works well, like clockwork, then you learn a lot of how to make sure that you track something that goes well. What are the key characteristics of those engagements that go well? So now you know how to run that. But you can not only be exposed to those great projects that are cool, that always go well, and be as rich a manager, unless you are exposed to the problems too. So unless you are also part of projects or engagements that go poorly, you will not be exposed to the problems that could arise. You need to know. Did you hear what I just said? It's important for you to experience the problems so that you can help avoid them, and so that you run projects and engagements that run excellently. It's very seldom that you will be able to just be exposed to engagements or projects that run perfectly and then be able to always run your own projects or engagements perfectly, particularly when problems arise. You need to know how to solve them. You need the problems. You need to know how to address the issues. You need to know how to pivot in the middle of that engagement, how to change priorities. You need to know what to stop. You need to know if there are certain types of colleagues that you might or might not want to have in your team, right? So are there colleagues that are more suitable for a work intensive environment if that's your project? Do you need colleagues who have a good ability to talk to management and challenge and stand up to them in high intensity situations? Do you need team members who will help you enlist the help of others who are a little bit less excited about joining whatever your project is? So I'm just throwing off examples left and right, but the point is there's a lot that you are going to be improved by when working in engagements that go poorly. So I wouldn't lean for poorly executing projects, or projects that go well, engagements that go well, or engagements that go badly. It's not an or, it's an and. You need to be able to work in both. I hope that you are exposed to both. If you have only been exposed to projects that are going well and that's all you're trying to get to, I would say you're leaving on the table a lot of knowledge, a lot of depth, a lot of maturity, and a lot of chops that you will get handling people, handling resources, handling priorities, handling stakeholders, if you are not working in a project that's not going well. There's a lot to learn, and that applies to everything. People that are not excellent all the time, you need to have people like that because you need to learn how to manage that. companies that might be tough or not, projects that are going well or not, stakeholders are difficult or not. You cannot always ask for the easy, because then it's like life. What are you going to learn? How are you going to harden? How are you going to mature to handle the things that are difficult when they come, and they will come? All right. I probably overextended in that question, but it's just an important concept to get to. My friends, we're at the bottom of the hour. Fantastic questions. I didn't even feel like the half hour already flew by, and it did. So nothing left to do but invite you. Let's see each other next Tuesday. Please go to Slido. Remember, in the invite, you will have a link that allows you to get to Slido, type your question, vote on others. And I would love to see you here again next Tuesday. I hope that you have a fantastic week, and I wish you the best. I'll see you very soon, my friend.